Hey guys, some stupid sketch show guy here with another episode of Dinotube Achievements, and similar to the last one, this one has to do with a dinosaur story. But not the original. The remake by Zainreborn, as today I will be covering the best Dinotube remake. And I know before you say anything, yeah, there isn't really much competition, but you're only half right. Technically, Prehistoric by Gloppy605 does count as a remake, as the original series was stop motion, and then he remade it in a new style. So technically that is a remake, and a pretty good one if you count it at that. But I still think that the A Dinosaur Story remake is a real remake, and a real good one, as it changes enough about the film to actually warrant a remake. As the film is, of course, in a tongue-in-cheek 2020 toy film style. Well, maybe it's not indicative of the year, but you get what I'm saying. The original is so popular because it is 2008 personified, 240p, and dinosaur toys. But this one is a more modern interpretation, with higher camera quality, and also major character changes. I think that's honestly the best part about this film, the fact that Zane went out of his way to change the characters. In some ways it does work, in some ways it doesn't, but for the most part, it is a successful change. One of the problems I had with the original A Dinosaur Story is that some of the cast members just kind of blended in. There were a couple memorable characters like Noasaurus and French Allosaurus, but some other characters just blended into the environment and didn't really add much to the story. But in this one, Zane makes more of an attempt to individualize the characters, giving them all individual personality traits that make them special, such as Ceratosaurus in this version being racist towards Allosauruses, and overcoming that throughout the course of the film, and Ceratosaurus Jr., the replacement of the other Ceratosaurus, talking really fast. Although that wasn't exactly the greatest addition to the film, it does make him at least unique. It also does help that the characters are given slightly more unique names in this one. There still are a couple that are just given the name of their species, like Saltosaurus and Saltosaurus, and Stegosaurus and Stegosaurus, but you also get more unique names like Alan Slasher, who is also, in my opinion, one of the best parts of the movie.
And we're all gonna drown!
So that does help give the characters more individuality, which is definitely the film's biggest strength. And while it's still done well, it's not done perfectly, as some characters are changed for, in my opinion, the worst. Red Dimetrodon, the replacement for Dimetrodon in this film, has the same sort of character trait as Ceratosaurus, being racist, except he hates all dinosaurs instead of just Allosauruses. But he's just kind of a worse version of Ceratosaurus, as besides the fact that dinosaurs took over from synapsids, he isn't really given that much backstory behind it, and he never actually changes. He doesn't go through an arc. Throughout the entire film, he just remains an asshole and doesn't contribute anything to the story. As well as some characters like Noasaurus and Ceratosaurus, while they do have very good arcs, I feel like it is a little bit too extreme. Noasaurus' selfishness, while it is pretty good, I feel like at some points he's a little too extreme when it comes to his selfishness. But at least he does fix it by the end of the film and turn into a better character by the end. But it still is definitely a little extreme from point A to point B. As well as that, there are a few other characters that are done just a little worse than they were in the original film, such as Carcharodontosaurus having a voice that I think doesn't really fit it, but he is still a good character, and it isn't too bad of a change. I just think that Carcharodontosaurus from the original film is just a little better. But there's also plenty of other characters that I think were handled very well. I think that Diplocalus' portrayal is surprisingly good, since Zane didn't really have much to work with. He didn't have a Diplocalus figure, so he had to use Jurassic World Alive. And although it does come off a little weird sometimes, and the explanation that he won a bet with the genie does sometimes seem a little far-fetched, I think it's handled pretty well, and a lot of my friends were pleasantly surprised by the idea of Diplocalus not being portrayed by a figure and how it was handled. So I think that, against all odds, Diplocalus was portrayed very well. And Dilophosaurus in this film is pretty good. He isn't revealed to be a twist villain just yet, as the second film will probably do that. But in this film, he's kind of interesting. He's manipulative, mildly selfish, but he's also not too extreme. He just tries moving Noasaurus away from the group and turning even more selfish than he already is. He wants to manipulate Noasaurus away from his friends, and I think that's interesting. He's a more subtle villain, as the main villain in this one is Mosasaurus, some creature that's trying to eat them all. But I would say overall the character changes are welcome, and I think it's well done. As well as that, the editing is pretty good. The background music is always nice and a pleasant touch. And a lot of the other basic editings for the film, while sometimes not perfect, as the special effects are pretty low quality for the most part, it still is generally well done. Although it's obviously not perfect, and nothing beats the nostalgia of the original, I think it's way better than many people expected. And that's why I think it deserves to be considered the best remake. Because he went above and beyond with it. He did way more than he was expected to, and he made a pretty good standalone film, and now he's going to make a film trilogy out of it. And I can't wait to be a part of the second and third films. So in summation, A Dinosaur Story Remake, give it a watch. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys next time.